With that.
Memo to Odell Beckham Jr.
Somebody put a C on his jersey.
That would have been the thing that would have been better to say than what you did say to Josina. Coach, are the Giants right to continue to have faith in Eli Manning?
Yeah, and lose the locker room. Whoever's saying that, whoever's pushing that forward, the locker room needs to look at themselves. There's a lot of areas where the Giants can improve, whether it's sacks allowed, the amount of sacks they have, points allowed, production by their key expensive free agents, high draft picks, the amount of times they rush per game. They're the lowest in the league in rushes per game. I think they're at 19. So we could go there. They have a head coach who got the job because he's an offensive coordinator. Take your pick. Yeah. So I know we want to go with Eli, and he's always the issue. And, okay, let's say we move on from Eli. Who are we putting in? The kid from Monmouth or the kid from Richmond?
Yeah.
Like, which one are we going with?
Right. They're ready to be the quarterback of the New York Football Giants.
To the promised land. So I couldn't have been happier with the comments that the owner made yesterday to Odell about maybe you need to work on production on the field as opposed to the interviews that you do off the field. And coming from the owner, that's that much more meaningful because it sends a message across the board that that's not going to be tolerated because it doesn't help anybody.
I just believe that, and Coach, tell me, I believe the owner spoke to the general manager. I believe the owner has spoken to the head coach. And I believe that them blundering the pick of Davis Webb and him not being on the roster, like those kind of things are brought up. But you know what they're going to do, gentlemen, with their family business? We're going to keep it in-house. All right? Now, if someone lets the business out of the house, Coach, then the owner would have to address it. But to think that the owner hadn't talked to the general manager and the coach and let them know that this is not what we're paying you to do, those kind of things go on a regular basis. Do you believe those type of things happen, or do you believe that he just decided that he's going to blame everything on Odell publicly?
No, you have regular conversations with the owner, and those conversations tend to pick up if things aren't going as planned because he wants to understand what are you tangibly going to do to make this better. Most owners, they may emotionally react to things, but then they're businessmen, and they want to know, okay, here's where we are. What is your plan to make this a better situation? What are you collectively going to do to improve the situation, whether it's offensively, defensively, on special teams? And as a head coach or a GM, it is your responsibility to give them action items that you're putting in place that the players can grasp onto that can move things forward.
Coach, a really smart man once told me that your quarterback, when he's paid like a franchise quarterback, needs to be, what was the term? A force multiplier. Now, I can't quite remember what smart man told me that, but I think he looks a lot like you. Eli Manning this year, has he been a force multiplier for them?
No, there's no one arguing that.
Okay, right now, if we're ranking reasons why the Giants are 1-5, I would say the offensive line is the first reason. Quarterback play is the second reason. The overall lack of defensive production of big plays, I would say, is the third reason.
Yeah, but Odell didn't mention those things. He mentioned the quarterback.
Hold on.
If he had mentioned the offensive line, all right? Because we can beat around the bush while we're talking about this. But this is about Odell and what he said about the captain of the team who happens to be not playing like a franchise quarterback. All right? That's the reason why we're here.
Sure, but the question was, like, are the Giants right to continue to have faith in Eli Manning? Coach said yes. I think the answer is no. I mean, that's what I'm answering. Like, is Eli Manning part of the solution to the problems of the Giants? In 2018, no. Does that change his status as an all-time Giant great? Of course not.
Who are they going to put in there to give him a better chance to win?
Well, and look, we also talk about, in terms of force multiplier, and you look at the New England model, is understanding what people do well. And it's not like Eli's skill set snuck up on anybody. He's had a lot of success doing things a certain way. And having a running game that's effective is part of that program. Being able to run passes off of play action is part of that program. And you need to also cater the things that you do to help the person who's in that position be as successful as possible and maximize their skill set. When you're at 19 carries a game collectively and you've got the number 2 overall pick at running back, that to me doesn't seem to make very much sense.
So when you say the owner talks to the general manager, who talks to the head coach, and say, what's the plan? Put the plan in action. Where does that start? I mean, where do you first look? Do you look to your quarterback? Are you looking at, because the only thing that we really heard that stood out, John Mara said, is, I need Odell to stop talking, which means that was something reporters were asking him. That was the first thing on his mind. That was something he wanted to make sure he addressed. What's the plan, and where does that start?
Yeah, well, that obviously had to be squashed, and doing it from the top down is a great way to do it, because he's the one guy that could find Odell in a record-setting way, or sit Odell, and nobody could do anything about it, and that's completely his right. So look at the Cowboys. The Cowboys have been struggling offensively, but to their credit, they did more move the pocket plays. They had more quarterback design runs. They did some other things offensively to help them. They ran the ball more consistently. So that there was a plan. They put the plan in place. Whether or not it's sustainable, we'll have to see, and they're going to have to adjust that. But I give them credit for looking at where they were and saying, okay, we're going to try something different. Right. And now, what are the Giants going to do differently than what they've done before, besides play better? Okay, that's the common thing. We need to play better. I get that. But what else are you going to try to allow those guys to play better?
What they have to try to do is support the quarterback for the season. They decided before the season started, with this pick, all right, we're going to go with the running back, because they believed he was the best player in the draft. It wasn't about a quarterback. They thought he was the best, going to be the best pro. That's why they went with Barkley. So now they decided we're going to support Eli. That's by supporting him, by getting a left tackle, by trying to come up with a running game. But coach is talking about, from a creative standpoint, they have not helped Eli. So the offensive line and the lack of a consistent running game, it doesn't allow Eli to play at his best this year. So there's a number of problems. But we have to address the Odell thing, because I had Tom Coughlin here, and he is legendary as a disciplinarian. I end up firing him, and one of the reasons was the kid with the hair. All right, we end up hiring the offensive coordinator, because I thought it might be best for this offense moving forward. We end up firing him. Why? Because of lack of discipline with the kid with the gold.
McAdoo firings on Odell now? He was injured last year.
It was part of it, Nick. It was part of you couldn't control him. You don't think that was part of it?
Ben McAdoo being fired? Ben McAdoo, when he had Odell...
Okay, you assume that then. You go by that assumption that his inability, because I can guarantee you, if he could get Odell the ball, and him and Odell had a great relationship, and Odell was growing, that would have been part of, we got to keep McAdoo. Why? Because the kid goes with McAdoo.
Sure, but my point is he didn't have a chance to show it, because the year he got fired, Odell missed almost the whole year with injury. The Coughlin thing I can give you. But how are we going to, we're going to blame Ben McAdoo's firing on Odell? Like to me,
Nick,
that's
I'm not
unfair.
blaming anyone. I'm just telling you what's real. All right? If you can control the guy in the organization, they're going to keep you around. There's a reason why they drafted Randy Moss. You know the reason why? Me. And I'm in that building. And they knew they could trust me to be able to handle him. There's a reason why they fired Tom Coughlin. It wasn't all to do with Odell, but that was one of the parts.
Sure.
When back McAdoo, his inability to put a game plan together, his inability to be able to manage a team. And I got a star. How are you with the star? Not great. So you think that was a positive? No, that's the reality of being in the NFL, and that was McAdoo's fate because of him. And Tom Coughlin, part of that was because of him. Those are our reality, regardless of what we want to believe.
They went the shutdown Eli route last year. That didn't work out real well.
Yeah,
there is no plan for this year.
So that's what I was going to say. Let's get back to it. What is the solution with Eli? They're going to ride him out the rest of the season.
When Davis Webb didn't make the team, that was also a failure on the front office, not having that high-quality draft pick. He should have been a better player and should be on the roster right now.
Well, if things go the way they are going, they'll have an exact same chance to do exactly what they should have probably done last year.